we're going to take a deeper we're going to take a deeper look into inventory this week. Um, could you just give me a summary of what we talked about last week in last week's guest lecture? Someone just give me a summary of that.
We pretty much talked about how I think I forget his name. I think his name was Joe. He pretty much talked about how he was the president of Levi's and the supply chain decisions he was practically making himself. And then we spoke a little bit on the implication of like AI into supply chain networks.
Um, we also talked a little bit maybe about Levi's and their plan of discuss the sustainability a little bit, and like somebody mentioned, selling Levi's again off brand or reselling them, and that kind of got into a conversation about maybe how Levi's is becoming a little more sustainable as well. And I think you're on mute.
Oh, so I was going to say, what's your thoughts on that? In that, yes, we want to be sustainable, but there's transportation costs that's involved with it. There are emissions, if you think about it, that are involved with it to ship those garments back to Levi's, for Levi's to send it back out to wherever that's going to get reprocessed, and then it's send it right back to the store or onto some marketplace. So that's the one thing a lot of people don't realize when you say, okay, yeah, I'm going to be sustainable. I'm going to send one pair of jeans back to Levi's to repair, and then that one pair of jeans is going to go to four different places. So by the time it's all said and done, they've did more harm than good. You know, so we I'm the person who mentioned the whole thing with Patagonia, and their kind of secondary market type thing where you can send a jacket back to Patagonia, they repair it and they resell it. But it's a double edged sword, and I don't think we're going to get the true I don't think we're going to get the true answer until we start measuring this impact. So how much fuel, how many emissions are we giving off to send one jacket back, right? And I think that we're a ways away from tracking that, because Levi's is going to say, okay, what's the benefit to tracking one pair of jeans? If you think about it, if you're going to try to create a whole entire program off of this, there's a lot of benefit. There's a lot of cost. There's a lot of benefit. Yes, it may be a cost to track one pair of jeans, but you're going to roll out a program, and if it's making a negative impact, now that could be a reputational risk, right? So that's one thing I've been explaining to quite a few organizations, where on paper it sounds good, theoretically it sounds good, but you need to really measure it to ensure that you are truly making a positive impact. Does that make sense? You know. So yeah. In the public eye, everything sounds good. It sounds great and amazing, but you have people like me that kind of digs in a little bit deeper to say, hmm, I thought it was good on the surface, but now that I think about it, we're gonna have to measure this thing to see if it does really have a positive impact. All right. So anything else? Anyone else? All right. So now again, like I said, we're going to this week we're going to take a little deeper look into inventory management. And with inventory management, there are different types of inventory. And I have one of my peers, Deborah Dole. I think I uploaded that webinar. I think I put it in the announcements. I'll double check anyway. Um, Deborah Dole is a close peer of mine. She's at GE Digital. Um, she always says that everything is inventory. Everything that we have is inventory. You know, the laptop that we're on right now has inventory attached to it. The keys on my keyboard is inventory, right? It can be reused somewhere. That's her view on things. She's a big circular supply chain person, in that everything can be repurposed. That goes back into that Levi's discussion. So when we talk about inventory, there are different types of inventory, you can say. One type is what we refer to as cycle stock. So cycle inventory is essentially the inventory that we have in use. So if I bring in, and you'll get to this economic order quantity, but if I bring in 500 cases of a product and I'm using up that 500 cases, then that 500 cases is my cycle stock. That's the stock that I'm cycling through, right? Now, of those 500 cases, that's my cycle stock. That's the stock that I am using up, that I am forecasting against, right? But now you also have safety stock. So as Joe was discussing, we in the U.S., or with the retail outlets in the U.S., are not going to see the impact of the Suez Canal debacle until a month from now. But that's because they had safety stock levels of a lot of inventory. So they had buffer inventory, right, to buffer against uncertainty. And the Suez Canal issue was uncertainty. So now that safety stock is going to be decremented. It's going to be used up, because organizations aren't going to be able to receive product in the planned time frame, because we were backed up for 2 weeks in the canal. you know so safety stocks are going to deteriorate over the next couple of weeks. But I would say, yes, in some cases we may have a couple of weeks delay before we return back to normal. So safety stock is buffer inventory, to mitigate the risk of uncertainty that we're currently having now. um, Anticipation inventory. So anticipation inventory is so I always say anticipation inventory, seasonal inventory. All right. So whenever I say anticipation inventory, think Christmas, think Thanksgiving, think Halloween. Right. So I'm anticipating for a spike in candy sales. So Hershey's has anticipation inventory for chocolate, in October. And they start ramping up production of chocolate around, I would say, July timeframe, right? Um, I think I mentioned in a previous class, Trogs, the brewery at Hershey. So whenever Trogs was in Harrisburg, I was there in July, and they were brewing Mad Elf. So Mad Elf is one of the beverages that come out during Christmas. So they were anticipating for that inventory in Christmas in July, right? So the way in which they do that is they look at their previous history, they look at their previous demand to see how many cases of that particular product that those people want, right? So that's anticipation. That's anticipation inventory. Um, hedge inventory. Hedge inventory is I'm going to, again, similar to safety stock, but a little bit different. So safety stock, you're always going to have safety stock, right? You're always going to buffer against uncertainty. With hedge inventory, I'm hedging against something that may not happen. Perfect example of this one is I was working with a furniture manufacturer 3 years ago. Yeah, furniture manufacturer 3 years ago, where when President Trump was going to enact tariffs, um, that furniture tariffs in Canada on lumber, that furniture manufacturer, we ran an analysis to say, okay, before these tariffs go in effect, would it be easier? Would it be more cost effective for us to buy 3 years of inventory of lumber that we know we're not going to use for 3 years, or to just wait and pay for this and just pay this additional cost? But if this tariff goes through, right? So because they were paying for warehouse space anyway that was sitting empty anyway because they couldn't lease it to anyone within Lexington, North Carolina. They just bought 3 years of lumber of inventory, right? And then that tariff went through, so they saved money. They saved tens of thousands of dollars just by hedging against something that may not have happened, right? So so I think Zach may relate to this, but you're hearing people now investing in the crypto market because they're hedging against the value of the dollar, right? I'm building up my financial inventory. I'm building up my crypto inventory because right now we're printing money out of nowhere for these stimulus checks. We're printing money out of nowhere. So some people are saying I'm hedging against the dollar. So I'm hedging against uncertainty. I don't know if the dollar's we don't nobody knows if the dollar's going to weaken or not, but they're buying Bitcoin, for example, to hedge against a weak dollar, right? Um, another example of hedge inventory, a real example of hedge inventory. That was just an example. Hopefully, yeah, it made sense. But another example of hedge inventory would be hurricanes. So down south, every year, people will load up on water, people will load up on bread, people will load up on eggs, because there is a hurricane in the Atlantic, but they don't know the path of that hurricane, right? It may turn back into the ocean, or it may go directly for their location, right? So we have property, we have rental property in the Outer Banks, and about twice a year, there's a hurricane off the Outer Banks, and they will go and board up the property, and so they're hedging, and so they have all this plywood sitting in this facility because they're hedging against hurricane season, right? So they have so the property management company at Pirates Cove in North Carolina has hedge inventory of plywood because they don't know how bad hurricane season is going to be. So they're stocked up on this plywood. Plywood does not expire, right? It may rot in 10, 15 years. Joe, you might know better than I do. But they're going to have this just all this plywood because they have to board up so many properties, right? So they're hedging against uncertainty, or they're hedging against something that may not happen. All right. Transportation inventory. Transportation inventory. You'll also hear transportation inventory you also hear it as in transit inventory, right? So, for example, Amazon. I think we all know who Amazon is. I'm pretty sure all of us have Amazon Prime right now, but So I have a lot of packages in transit inventory right now on my Amazon account, right? So from a supply chain perspective, you can have what I refer to as buckets of inventory. So I'll have a bucket of in stock, right? So I'll have a quantity in stock, and that quantity has an inventory value associated with it. It has a dollar value associated with it. Okay. That's on my books. I also have an in transit bucket. So the in transit bucket is all the inventory that is on a truck, ship, plane, rail, what have you. If it's in transit to the customer, it's in a bucket. If it's in transit to me, to my warehouse, it's in a bucket. Because even though I haven't received it yet, it's still in my books because I purchased it based on your terms, based on your terms with your supplier, right? So depending upon what your terms are with your supplier, even if I have not received it yet, I may have taken ownership of it. So that's on my books. So I have to report that. And I'm pretty sure some of you in your internships and your jobs, you said, oh, we got end of month. Because you have to report how much inventory you have on your books. Because you have to report that to the bank. Because most small and medium businesses still get loans from the bank to fund their inventory levels. So they have to do end of month to let the banks know how much inventory they have in transit coming to them, to their warehouse, how much inventory they have within their warehouse in stock, and as well as how much inventory they have in transit. That in transit inventory sold. So again, based on my terms, it still may be on my books, or it still may be the customer may have owned that inventory. So, but again, whether it's to the customer or to me, it's still going to be considered in transit. Okay. So again, when you think of it, when you think of types of inventory, think of buckets. Because I also have a safety stock bucket. So I'm not going, in some cases, I'm not going to see that safety stock as available, but it's still on my books. Because I don't want customer service to see that safety stock, because that safety stock is buffer stock, right? And I'm bringing up all of these situations because they've happened whenever I've been consulting with organizations. I just seen 10 cases on the floor. Why is it not showing up in the system? A safety stock. That's stupid. No, it's not. So I get wiped out. I need that, right? So you'll have, so one thing, like I said, one thing that is that you'll have different buckets of inventory, and then you have smoothing inventory, where it's somewhat like safety stock. It's not safety stock. It's kind of buffer stock. It is to, as the name refers, it smooths out my inventory levels. It's going to put those peaks and valleys and spikes and uncertainties into account. Okay. So that's smoothing inventory. You won't see that term smoothing inventory too often. But there's another inventory type you're gonna see in certain industries called pipeline inventory. Pipeline inventories like water, oil, gas, liquid, milk, that is going to be in a pipeline. It's a continuous flow. There is a quantity to it. There's 10,000 gallons, and those 10,000 gallons of oil absolutely have a value associated with it, right? So although it's continuously flowing, it still has a quantity associated with it. It still has a value associated with it. So pipeline inventory is big, big in Texas, Oklahoma, Saudi Arabia, those areas. Any questions on types of inventory? Any other types of inventory you can think of? Because you'll get different types based on the industry. Anything? All right. All right. So you also have inventory models. So within inventory models, that's where you're going to have essentially a review system. So with a periodic review system, that is where I'm going to periodically look at my inventory level and only reorder after on these particular intervals. So what I mean by that is that I'm only going to look at my inventory levels every 2 weeks. And whatever I need in those 2 weeks is what I reorder to my reorder point or my restocking level, as you see here. So you'll see reorder point or you'll see restocking level. This periodic review system is used a lot within like small restaurants. So restaurants use a periodic review system often. If you have worked at a supermarket, supermarkets use periodic review systems often. Smaller supermarkets, like if we're talking like a Wegmans, or if we're talking Giant, for example, if we're talking Giant, Giant has a continuous review system where they are continuously reviewing your inventory levels. And once that level falls below the reorder point, that's my signal that I need to reorder that product. So I have one student that works for Giant, and she says they have shipments coming every single day, and in some cases multiple times a day, and that's because Giant has a continuous review system in place. So Giant will run this continuous review system, this continuous review report. They will, whatever items are on that list for that Giant store, they will pick those products out of a distribution center, and then they're going to ship those products to the Giant store. As I said, sometimes daily. So that continuous review system is beneficial. It's beneficial in some cases. In some cases, a periodic review system is efficient. So there's no one size fits all approach. There's no one size fits all approach to the organ. It just depends on what type of organization you're working in. You know. So if you have like a restaurant in a rural area, for example, a periodic review system is sufficient for you. Okay. If you have a large organization that stocks a number of products, a continuous review system is going to be the correct approach. So again, it depends on the type of organization. It depends on the type of product mix you have within your company. So within continuous review systems, we have something that we refer to as the economic order quantity. And I also referred to the reorder point. And these are the formulas of the economic order quantity, where you're going to take the square root of 2 times the annual demand times the ordering cost over the holding cost. And back whenever I was an undergrad, we had to memorize this, but now we have enterprise resource planning systems that have these formulas baked into the system. So nobody has to remember this anymore, right? Now, some classes will test you on this, will test you on the formulas, but I come from the industry. I was in supply chain. I was implementing ERP systems for 15 years. I never had to use this. So why am I going to teach you? Why am I going to have you memorize this? I'm not, because you're never going to have to memorize it. You're never going to have to know it, right? Now, now some people do make the argument that, well, you do have to understand the annual demand. You do have to understand the ordering cost, how to back into the ordering cost. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. but you don't have to memorize a formula to do that. So as I said, you don't there are formulas that are going to be built into the ERP applications that you all are going to be using within your organizations. Or even if you don't use an ERP system, these formulas are going to be built into an worst case, these formulas will be built into an Excel spreadsheet, right? So that's just my justification. That's my reasoning as to why I don't have people memorize these formulas. But this is a common formula within the supply chain practice. So and this is an example. I'm not going to waste your time with that. So we have something. So there's a common discussion within supply chain management, within inventory management, that we refer to as a bullwhip effect. Has anyone heard the bullwhip effect?
I have heard of it.
What is it?
We were actually just in my MIS class, we were actually talking a little bit about supply chain management in our Connect reading assignments.
Mhm.
And the bullwhip effect, like the changes in the supply chain, was one of the terms mentioned in that class.
Excellent. So, Joe, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I remember seeing it, and my understanding, it's almost like a, I don't know, if you have like a flat line, kind of like what this is saying. If everything's running smooth, it's a flat line, but if something, I almost feel it like a backup or whatever. Somewhere along the line, you get a dip, and it kind of slows the whole system down, holds it up.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can expand a little bit on that. I thought it was kind of an interesting definition, to be honest with you. I think the content is pretty obvious. How, like, obviously if there's a disruption somewhere in the supply chain, obviously it's going to like kind of shoot backwards, and then everybody will feel it, even if it's like the little smallest thing. But the definition of like a literal bullwhip, where you can kind of see like reverberations on the graph here, I think that's pretty interesting. It fits pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? All right. So within the bullwhip effect, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick. So whenever I was in grad school at Penn State, oh well, shoot, that was 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago. Holy crap. Yeah, so whenever I was in grad school at Penn State in the supply chain program 10 years ago, um, we actually were so we actually had an exercise within the Smil School of Business where we were broken up in groups, and it's a concept. Let me see here. I'm see if I can find it real quick, because it's actually very interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, so if you go on YouTube, and you type in the beer game, the beer game is exactly what I'm referring to. So whenever I was in grad school, we did something called the beer game, where you split up people in teams. So you're going to have a supplier, you're going to have a manufacturer, you're going to have a distributor, you're going to have a retailer, and then you're going to have a customer or consumer, right? So you have 5 teams, and people are broken up into different teams. And you're going to say, okay, you're going to start downstream, and you're going to say, okay, Mr. Customer, tell me how many cases of beer you need. And then you say, okay, Mr. Retailer, guess how many cases of beer you think the customer needs. Then you go to the wholesaler and you say, okay, guess how many cases of beer that you think the retailer needs. Then you go all the way up. You go through all these nodes, these parts of the supply chain, and you end with a supplier to say, okay, supplier, guess how many pounds of barley, that you think the manufacturer needs, barley and hops. So once you go through all that, once everyone puts in how many cases they think that their customer needs, then the customer says, okay, I wanted 20 cases. Then the retailer says, holy crap, I ordered 100, right? Then the other person says, oh man, I thought you wanted 500. Oh, I only thought you wanted 50. So now you have these discrepancies through every single piece of the supply chain, right? And then you go to the second week. So now you say, okay, Mr. Customer, tell me how many cases of beer you need. And then you go through it again. And now with the second week, I'm trying to either bump up my inventory or decrease my inventory because my forecast was never accurate. So now from week 2, the customer says, oh, it's Super Bowl week. So I'm on 500 cases. Now you say, man, you're kidding me, right? So now they've stocked out twice, right? So now they really have to play catch up. So now you're playing catch up the entire week after week after week after week after week after week. So that's what we refer to as the bullwhip effect, where you get these peaks and valleys. And the moral of this exercise is that everyone is flying blind, and that's what causes those peaks and valleys, because no one knows what the other person wants, right? So now you go through another iteration and you say, Mr. Customer, I say, customer, tell the retailer how many cases of beer you need. Retailer, tell the wholesaler how many cases of beer you need. Wholesaler, tell the manufacturer how many cases of beer you need. And now you see in terms of instead of all this chaos, now you see more of a flat line. You get a little bit of amplification because of communication and things like that, but it's not as amplified as you see it. The manufacturer predictions is kind of flattened out, right? So the whole, like I said, the premise of the beer game is to show that communication and collaboration is key to effective and efficient supply chain management. And I think I've said this 3 or 4 times in this class. It sounds so simple, but very few organizations do it, because they think that their business partners are going to share their information with their competitors and things like that. But I always come back and say, okay, if you feel that way, why are you dealing with this organization anyway, if you don't trust them, right? So the key is collaboration and communication within the supply chain to create an effective supply chain, because it's going to save every single organization money in the end, because they're not playing catch up like we have in this caption here, right? And again, it's as simple as collaboration and communication. And I showed, I did one presentation on collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment, and the bullwhip effect. And I put a quote up there with Sam Walton. Sam Walton says, give them everything. Whatever the suppliers want, whatever the customers want, give them everything. We have nothing to hide. And back pre Amazon, Walmart was what had the most efficient supply chain in the world. So and you know what I just thought about? Watch this. Let me show you something. Let's see here. I just now thought about this. I just thought about this. All right, richest people in the world, right? because I thought the Walton kids were up here. So I was thinking about, well, back in the day, pre see my theory was proven incorrect. So back in the day, pre Amazon, Bezos is the richest man in the world. You could argue that Bezos built that empire through supply chain management. Think about it. He used to sell books. He used to sell books. So it wasn't the marketplace. It was because he created an efficient supply chain network. Right? If you look at Larry Ellison, founder, CEO of Oracle. They create technology, but who do they create technology for? Organizations. And one of their most successful products is NetSuite. NetSuite creates ERP applications for distributors and many manufacturers. So my point I'm trying to make is that most of the rest of these guys are in tech, but you got two of the top 10 most richest people in the world in the supply chain space. Right? So I was gonna come up here, and like I said, I look like a let me see if I can get a top 50 list. Cause
I mean, you got Alice Walton up there.
huh?
Top 10 women.
Oh yeah, because I know, yeah, because like three of the Walton kids, they've been up there for years, but they just got dethroned. It looks like there were like 5 of them up here on that. Walton, there we go. So they dropped. Alice Walton, so 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 17, 18. So the Walton children, they're 17, 18, and 19. Their money came from supply chain. You know? So that was the point I was trying to make. I should have pulled this one up. It made me look better. But anyway, that's fine. Let's see here. Because I don't even know. So I don't know some of these other people. I don't even know this guy, this person. He's the richest. Oh, he just started last year. Oh my goodness. Interesting. I gotta check that one out. All right, so let's see here. Got so much crap up. So any thoughts on what we discussed? All right. So I'm going to put up a chat. I'm gonna put up a chat later on today. If you don't have anything else, that's all I had to talk about today. I just published the week's information. Let me see here. Let me check something real quick. Before you drop off. Let's see here. Where is it at? Where am I at? Where am I at? I'm all over the place. Let's see here. All right, so yeah, so lesson 7 on inventory management was just published. Yeah, so within that week, so let me go here real quick. So this was just published. So like I said, you're gonna read chapter 13, I think. If I look at the syllabus, give me a second. chapter 9. Yeah, so you read chapter 9 for inventory management. You're going to view this information, and then I'm going to put up a discussion. I'm going to put up a discussion later on this afternoon. I did a lecture on inventory control, so I'll put that up. Then I'll have you reflect on it. There's one more discussion on target service levels, where when we talk about service levels, the higher the service level. So if I don't want to stock out of a product, the higher the inventory I'm going to carry, right? So if you look at Amazon, I know for me, it is super rare that Amazon's out of the stock of a product I'm looking for, right? So because of that, Amazon has to run some super high service levels, right? So you just only imagine how much inventory they're carrying on their books right now. It's, to me, it would be mind blowing how much inventory they have on their books. So, because the more I think about it, I'm in the supply chain space, and it's mind blowing, right? What they can do, what they've pulled off in terms of supply chain management. And the thing is, we talk about Amazon, but their technology and their infrastructure is so advanced. There's so much stuff that you don't even see from Amazon. And like I said before, Amazon is writing all these transactions to the blockchain, and nobody even realizes it. Right? They're so far, and that's the thing. That's the stuff that I know. And what I know is probably only 10% of what they're actually doing. You know, so if you're actually in Amazon, in that technology space, they're probably doing some things that are 6 years, advanced on what we actually think is possible. You know, so, and I see what Amazon does, in that they try to recruit one of my close peers. So they go out, Amazon goes out and gets the best, and they pay top dollar for them. Right. So, so, whenever you look at things like that, when you look at EOQ levels, when you look at reorder point levels, another situation that I had was that I had let's see here. Let me see it. Am I still showing my screen? Yeah. So this company, John Galt Solutions. Yeah. So John Galt Solutions, I did a software selection for this company, or I did a software selection, and we selected John Galt. So I know I've been speaking with Ann Amrod. Let's see here. So Ann Amrod is the founder of this company. So they actually developed a forecasting solution for Amazon, only for the Amazon Kindle. That's the only thing they developed a solution for. So then Amazon used their solution for like a year and a half, and then Amazon developed their own solution. Right? So the point I'm trying to make is that Amazon is so advanced, they cannot use commercial solutions. They always have to develop their own solution, because they're so far ahead of the mark in terms of supply chain management, in terms of technology, in terms of innovation. So that's why I'm so passionate about technology and innovation. That's why I talk about Amazon a lot, especially in this space, because Amazon is the benchmark, right? Everyone's trying to be Amazon. Everyone knows they can't compete with Amazon. Everybody wants to be Amazon. And I would say inventory control from an inventory control perspective, that's the main company that you should research. That's the main organization you should look at. All right. Any thoughts on that?
Not the moment.
Okay.
I was just gonna ask a question about the assignment, the scholarship assignment. How do you want the references? How do you want the references to be implemented in it?
APA.
So give me a second. APA and have them in text then.
Yes, in text and within the reference list.
Okay, scholarship. Yeah, I'll just go and do an overview of my topic, and then I'll just answer the talking points, such as what was my next question and how does my research contribute to my existing scholarship.
Correct. Are you still doing Wall Street
Yeah.
bets?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Excellent. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm super excited about that one.
Yeah, the poster shouldn't take too long though, right? That should be
No,
like this
it's,
small.
it's one slide. Yeah, it's one slide.
Yeah, the poster. I need to look at that and see. I need to look at the instructions for poster again.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll try to implement. I'll use APA then format and in text.
Yes.
APA format. For in
All right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Anyone else? All right. If you don't have anything else, y'all have a good week.
I just had a
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
question.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
All right, you as well.
With the celebration of scholarship, I just wanted to make sure with the since I'm not Wilkes Barre campus.
Yeah.
It's I've been working on it. It's like a mandatory assignment for the class, however, not submittable to the scholarship thing, being that we're not having a campus or we're not Wilkes Barre campus.
Right.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure
Correct. Yes.
that's what it is. Okay, it's an assignment mandatory for the class, just not for the
Yeah, it's just
submission itself.
just not for the celebration scholarship.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So like is submitting it to like the celebration of scholarship, like I know you have to like upload it on YouTube and on Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
but like submitting it to the scholarship, is that the optional part?
Yeah, that's the optional part. Yeah,
Okay.
to be considered for the actual awards, that's the optional part.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is a similar thing. So I'm not for the scholarship essay or like the simulation. Like I'm out of the campus, so I'm still doing this or not?
Yes, you're still doing it. Yes.
I'm still doing.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking now. Okay.
Yeah, you still have to do it. All right.
Have a good one.
All right, you too.